Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tub Takes. This is our weekly video podcast where we talk about all of the latest and greatest happenings in VGC. And this time, we are back after trying to avoid talking about Regulation G for as long as physically possible. There were a couple regionals this past weekend, and so we do finally have to talk about it. And we got players who top cut both Rio and Birmingham regionals on the podcast. So this is a very exciting episode. And so to introduce my our guests, I am first and foremost, I am joined by Pedro Cadaval. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I'm sorry.
Cadaval, Cadaval, but
Cadaval.
it's okay.
Well, it's nice to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine.
Yeah, coming off of a top 8 finish at Rio regionals. And then I'm also joined by Junchi. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just got back to the place to stay, and yeah, it's been nice in London.
Yeah, it's great to have you guys both on the podcast, and of course, I'm joined by my lovely co-host Alex. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Revved up and finally ready to talk about Reg G. I'm so excited. This format's so deep and interesting and cool. And we're finally back in the swing of things. Yeah, this is awesome. It just feels like Pokemon again. We've got Urshifu. We have a single one restricted Pokemon that decides entirely how the matchups play out, and everything's predetermined. It's so cool. I love it. VGC is in its peak.
Well, with that cheery introduction, we can jump into. I guess the first thing to mention is that if you cannot catch this entire episode live on Twitch, then this will be up on YouTube tomorrow, so you can watch the full thing on YouTube. Even if you watch the full thing on Twitch, you can also watch the full thing on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, come join us on Twitch. It's a good time. And then I guess the other thing that we kind of want to talk about at the start of the stream, rather than kind of get to as we go, because we want to focus on Pokemon and the people that did well and the teams that did well, is obviously on the Birmingham regional stream. There was a player who beat someone who clicked fake out in psychic terrain and had a Noivern on their team, and I guess was really jacked up after doing that, and went and said some shit on their interview. So Alec, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we were just gonna say that we probably won't discuss that one too much. Besides saying that it's probably not the best way to get your message out on the official stream if you ever want to play the game again. And yeah, would not advise that. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much else other to say about that, except yeah, we don't really want to like add too much to that or give too much attention to it, because it definitely was some kind of weird stunt.
Yeah. I put my thoughts on Twitter. If you want to read more about that, I'm sure all the discourse is on Twitter right now. But yeah, just don't want to lend any credence to it. And yeah, so with that, let's talk about some Pokemon, because there was a lot of action. I think this was the first chance, other than the Victory Road Tours, for people to really show off the Regulation G teams. I think the World Championships had a lot of innovation on the format, and so people were really excited to try out these teams that did well at the World Championships and reuse them and keep building upon them, the metagame. And surely the metagame has evolved a ton. And yeah, what was that? Sorry. Yeah. I mean, this looks like a lot of brand new. Surely the same team that won the World Championships won't win the first regional of the year. No, that would never happen. All right, so I guess, yeah, first off, do we want to talk about Rio first, or do we want to talk about Birmingham first? Up to you guys.
Let's do it in chronological order, but I gotta ask which one finished chronologically first. I actually don't know. I guess Europe was first.
Yes.
Then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I put them in the opposite order, but let's go ahead and go in that order then, because Europe finished first, so we'll talk about Europe.
Yeah. And so well, when talking about Europe, of course, I gotta give the floor to our American representative in Europe, Junchi, who got all the way to top 8, invading. I was really rooting for you to win the entire thing, because I think it would have been really it would have been really funny. It would have put an end to the EU versus NA arguments. But I'm really happy that you got all the way to top 8. It was really cool to see with Ice Rider representing Ice Rider, the only Ice Rider in top 8. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience in Birmingham?
Yeah. So funny enough, from the previous VR, we saw a lot of Zamazenta popping up, and if you look at my run, actually, I faced zero Zamazenta
No
until
way.
I was knocked out on at top 8. But yeah, I do the team my team does have some tech for Zamazenta, but apparently Ice Rider is just not for Zamazenta. It's just not a good matchup. So yeah.
I like that you
But
say
overall,
apparently because I mean this is a new restricted for you, right? You haven't really played much Ice Rider before this tournament,
uh, well,
or did you?
I actually did play Ice Rider at the very first Reg G
Okay, okay.
tournament at Indianapolis. I got top 16, bubble just out of cut, I think. Yeah.
Ooh, okay, tough, tough. Sorry that I don't remember that one, but I just remember you mostly as a turtle player.
After that I just went on Turtle and it's been fun. And I went back to Ice Rider a little bit before Worlds actually. This team I actually
Mhm.
built right before World Championships, but I ended up dropping it because I did not want to click Sensier Storm, raw Sensier Storm at Worlds. So I was like, I want to play something more stable, something that's more consistent. So I went with Turtle, which is like everything is 100% accurate. However,
Mhm.
which was funny is at Birmingham, I noticed that the most of the losses I had was versus the Kyogre team, which I always have 100% accuracy Sensor Storm. So yeah, it's a little bit ironic on that one.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but
I see nothing
overall,
wrong
I
with
think
clicking raw Sandseer. I think you could just click Sandseer. Like, come on. So you were fine doing it in Europe, but at Worlds that's too much.
yeah. Well,
That's funny.
thinking back, maybe I could have a chance to bring it to Worlds anyways.
Right.
Like just have a good mental about clicking it. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, it is interesting
Um,
to see. I know we were just making fun of how little innovation there was in the format, but I feel like I have not seen an Ice Rider team quite like this one before with the Grunt
mhm.
on it. And I know that you were also using the screens. Was it Klefki team back at NAIC? So was this like a comfort pick, or what was the rationale behind putting Ice Rider behind screens?
So if you close your eyes and look at and you think about the Kali Ice is a Terra Normal, so the whole team actually looks pretty similar to the NAIC team that
I was thinking
Aurelian,
that.
Suika, and yeah, all of us were running. So most it's like a lot of them is the same pieces, and um, yeah, and Ice Rider versus Turtle, it's like sometimes basically Ice is just a better offensive typing, and then obviously it's slower, so you have to have a lot more support, but it's also bulkier. And it does not.
Mhm.
It's like Ice Rider compared to Turtle is like it does not rely on Terra as much, so you can you basically your teammates can be like Lando, which often needs a Terra when it's when you're playing versus like Chimpao, and Urshifu when you can also make it more offensive to go Terra Water, and like Amoonguss can also eat Terra when you need to. So it's like when your teammates also get to click the Terra more often when you're not using Turtle. So yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It probably felt very freeing moving away from Turtle, always eating up your Terra, to just being like, I can Terra anything I need right now, whatever the situation
Yeah.
calls for.
Yeah.
I'm still at 3. I don't understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. We'll
Yes,
definitely
I'm
get to
playing the
talking about
turtle.
that.
I'm not free yet.
Nah, yeah,
Um,
I'm excited to talk about your team too because your team was sick. But I guess I have one more question for Jinchi. So yeah, going over to Europe again, having mostly played in NA events so far, did you anticipate the metagame looking different? And what were your expectations and what was kind of the reality of that?
So going to Europe, I was expecting a lot more balanced team. So when I was prepping, I was thinking about okay, there's gonna be a lot of Kyogre teams. There's gonna be a lot of Zamazenta teams. There's gonna be a lot of Carmine Terrapagos team, and obviously the world champion team is also gonna be popular. So those are the teams I was prepping more, and I think in Europe people are more running more of the standard teams. Like you won't be seeing as many like very niche picks as often. So I was like, if I just have my Grimmsnarl Kaliais, just nobody can break it easily. So it's like I think it gets like it's more easy to overwhelm a lot of people who like are expecting to just play standard teams. Yeah.
They've never seen anything
Hmm.
remotely spicy, and they've got no tolerance for it. So
Yeah.
gotta throw shade at the Europeans when you can. But yeah, and then ultimately, everyone. I'm just gonna steal this one from Burns because he's always saying it in our building chats. But everyone in Europe failed the Arubega check like they did at Worlds. This was a team that we knew going into Worlds was strong. It's a team we surely knew going into this tournament was strong, but ultimately, the team that won Worlds ended up winning this team. I think there's I'm guessing there's like 2, maybe 3 changes on it. I'm seeing Terra Poison Hands. I don't think that was on the Worlds team, and I think maybe it wasn't Heavy Slam on the Iron Hands. Maybe it was Electric Move. Yeah, and then who knows? Maybe some EV spread changes that completely swing how it plays. My understanding of it is so small and limited, and I'm so stupid for not thinking this is completely different than the world's winning team because they, moved 8 EVs from special defense to defense on the Whimsicott. But yeah, it just did it again. That's the short of it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see. I thought that like people would have prepared for this team, and I mean, big congrats to William for winning the event. This was I think that I saw their tweet where they're like, yeah, I'm going in with very little prep. I didn't really have much time before the regional, and so it is kind of crazy to see a very standard team that I would have expected other people to have prepared for quite a bit on without a ton of innovation, without a ton of prep time to do really well. But I think that's a testament to the strength of the team and the flexibility. Right, it just means that it gives you room to outplay opponents even if they have their game plans. And it's such a hard team to beat because I feel like no matter what you do, they always have lines. They always have just oppressive amounts of damage, and they can always get the calls right to find a way to win. But I also say that having played very little of this format, and I guess you guys have presumably prepared for this team, having done very well at the regional. What were your thoughts on this team, and are you surprised to see it win another tournament?
We'll start. I guess yes. Since I said first, I obviously I prepare a lot. I think I play a lot of matchups against it. Like it, I played before the regionals. I played a couple limitless tournaments and also the ladder. So it's probably the team that I have played the most against. Uh, I am sort of surprised, yes, that it won because not only I think, I mean, I think a lot of people would have ring it, but as it was said, I think a lot of people would have prepared it as well. But one thing that I think this team has that a couple, not only this team, but Miraidon, is that is a Pokemon that I feel like if you can get the reach right, it's almost impossible to win because it's just so much damage. And so it's sort of understandable that won because if you play well and got the reads right, he's able to KO and position well. Obviously, it's not all like that, but it's a team that I think you can win consistently, but not always because then again he may had a read and then just I don't know Draco Meteor kills a Pokemon or position well. So it's a team that I think it's sort of risky to bring to a tournament on the sheer numbers that people have prepared for it. But at the same time, if you're able to get the right reads, predict well, I think it's not that big of a surprise that this team did well.
Yeah. I'm kind of going through the
What do you think,
standings here.
Junshi?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I think this team is just very well built. Like we knew it from before Worlds. Like it's just a very well built team. But we also see some innovations. Um, the psychic noise being removed for psychic just for more damage to win the damage race. We see
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the change, and I think another change that William made to change the Iron Hands from the Terra Bug to Terra Poison. I think that was also a very smart change because in the mirror, when you're low kicking versus each other, um, you don't want to get low kick to get a lot of HP KO'd, to get a lot of HP removed. So you would Terra, but if you're Terra Poison, you're not gonna be like Terra Bug, which is gonna be weak to the Ogre Pawn. So there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
pieces on this team in the mirror you have to take into account of, and this Terra Poison just I think it's just a very smart pick. It also makes
Mm-hmm.
the um, Zamazenta matchup a lot better when you need to Terra. So just like Bug, and it does more than Bug in this case. Yeah.
Poison is shaping up to be a good Terra in the meta right now, I feel, so would be surprised to see it tried out on some other Pokemon that are trying to do similar things. Counter the fairy attacks, counter the fighting attacks from whether Urshifu or Zamazenta. Zamazenta definitely rising a bit more in popularity before this one. And yeah, I mean, like we said a couple of times here, that this team, we knew that this was a well-rounded one, but just kind of like running through it, like I can kind of understand how this is still doing it because it has like honestly every tool in the game in VGC. I feel like besides maybe like Intimidate. You've got Prankster, you've got Tailwind, you've got Trick Room, you've got Fake Out, you've got Redirection, and you've got Priority Denial, Terrain, and the ability to hit through Protect with Surging Strikes or Urshifu or whatever. So like it just has everything. Of course, you could go to another team and list off all of its positive traits, but I feel like these are some of the traits that many teams across like all of VGC's history are exploiting to do well, and it has just like all of them. I feel like it has just everything, and so there's something for every matchup. And like we said earlier, if it can get every call right with some of those strong attacks from a Rhydon, sometimes you just can't lose as long as you're in their head.
Mm-hmm. I think on a more like meta note, it is like I think a lot of people talk about how this meta doesn't have any development. Oh, it's so boring. And I will say like I as someone who's not really playing as seriously this format, it is I definitely feel that it is really interesting to hear, especially the rationale for like like flipping the Terra type on Iron Hands changes so much. It changes all the pins that you can create in this matchup. It is quite fascinating. But also like it is so different coming from Reg Age, where the exciting part was like, oh yeah, it's someone top cut a regional using Espathra, and it's like it's a very different and it's what we talk about, and I think but it is really cool to see, and I think it's very important to understand like the nuanced changes and how those changes can make a big difference, even with a relatively standard team. Like the meta is evolving, it's just that the changes are harder to notice and harder to understand than when you look at maybe something like Regulation H.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it also totally again, same tangent by the way. This is why I hate Pokemon like Iron Hands. Is because like in Regulation H, you didn't have these big fucking stat balls that you could do whatever you wanted with. And so if you wanted to use something different, you just used a different Pokemon that had had a different typing because they were. But now it's like, oh well, I guess I want this fighting type to also be a poison type instead of being a bug type. And so you just make your Iron Hands a poison type. And it's like, because why wouldn't you use Iron Hands? Just got infinite stats. That part I really hate. I really hate the Paradox Pokemon.
Well, no, it's Terra is kind of like the thing. We're all kind of like growing a little tired of. Not, I don't want to say speak for everybody. And Terra is a way better mechanic than Dynamax. Don't come after me. But like Terra is a mechanic that makes the best better. When it comes to most Pokemon, because you have to have a way to beat Iron Hands if it can turn into a bug type or a grass type or a poison type. And it's like I need 3 different Iron Hands checks instead of needing like a check to Iron Hands and another fighting type and another fighting type. You could just take that fighting type and change its counters in 3 different ways because of Terra. So Terra is a bit of a weird one. Who knows? Maybe the one after Regulation G right now, it'll be that no Terra format. We did get a no Dynamax format at one point, but no reason to speculate. We've got a couple more months of Reg G, so we might as well focus on the Regulation G that's here in front of us. And the second place team is also nothing new.
This is also so. I will say they're not going to do a no Terra format for the World Championships. I'd be very shocked if they did that because
that's fair. That's fair.
They want I think the hype dies down a little bit for the games, but maybe after that we'll see. I think it would be very interesting. Anyways, yeah, you're right. The second place team, this is the team that Owie used to get top 16 at the World Championships. And of course, he also ran it back and got second place at this regional. This is an innovation. This team was an innovation on top of the sort of Crystal Rain team that was created by Crystal, a Korean player that really, started using Calm Mind Kyogre with Incin, Rilla. I mean, again, oh my god, I can't believe they invented Incin, Rilla, Urshifu, but like they were using it with Incin, Rilla, Urshifu, Amoonguss, and they had a Grimmsnarl in that last slot. The Grimmsnarl has been changed to a Roaring Moon, which I think kind of is one of those things where, again, it's a little hard to appreciate, but it is like it does mean that what's happening is that the team is being refined and it's no longer doesn't need to play like. It doesn't need to be as good overall. It needs to be good into the metagame and good into his counters. And so while setting up screens and playing with Kyogre was I actually found it a very compelling style of gameplay. It was really fun to use. That I think was a little too slow in a format, especially when the Calyrex is running Nasty Plot and every team had an Urshifu. You were really just kind of getting overrun by other Pokemon that could set up and by people kind of powering through your screens with Urshifu. And so using Roaring Moon as also a dark type that still kind of creates that defensive synergy that also can threaten Calyrex Shadow very effectively, but also deals with Urshifu is a cool way to sort of patch the weaknesses that I think this team had prior to the World Championships. And we did really well with it at Worlds, and of course and I don't think we got to talk about it nearly as much at Worlds because he only got top 16, and there were a lot of teams to talk about at Worlds. But here we can kind of give it the spotlight it deserves, getting all the way to second place and showing that Kyogre is not washed.
I think this team needs to be banned at the local level because someone in my region was using it at the local, and every round was going to time, and it was just miserable. It was just like, oh, we could have been out here so much earlier, but every game was going to game 3, every game going to time because leftovers, grassy terrain, party shot, U-turn, regenerators, pollen puff. I guess this one isn't a pollen puff. Sorry, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's so slow. But honestly, on the opposite end of slow, I will say one cool innovation on Owie's team is that I believe the Rillaboom is Jolly Max speed. And most Urshifu run Adamant, which hits 149 speed. Jolly Max speed Rillaboom hits 150, I believe. And so it can go for drum beating into Urshifu, slow it down so that this Kyogre that doesn't want to run that much speed, would rather run a bit more bulk, can then finish it off after the drum beating brings it down to the Focus Sash, and Ice Beam and Origin Pulse will be able to deliver the final blow, and they don't even have an Urshifu anymore. I guess, Urshifu maybe not the scariest thing if you're staring down Rillaboom plus Kyogre, but giving it rain and, having it able to do that much extra damage can be a little bit scary. So it's cool to have that option with a couple of your Pokemon just to be able to slow down and KO the Kyogre or the Urshifu like that.
Yeah, we even saw it outspeed the Ogerpon Fire in finals that was on Williams' team. And I think that if I recall Seri's spreads correctly, I think he was really slow, very bulky on Ogerpon. That was the Ogerpon set that, could live 2 Glacial Lances potentially from a Calyrex Ice. And of course, you're giving up a lot of other sets to do that, and taking advantage of that sort of lack of speed to allow your Rillaboom to do it is really cool. And Jinchi, I know you played this team twice and you lost to it twice. Did you have any thoughts about this team?
Right. Which I think so I played this team twice, and I actually played similar team once as well, and also I played them on played this core on ladder when I was prepping for the event as well. So a lot of people, when they take this team away, the first thing they do is drop the drum beating to wood hammer, and that is actually not the right thing to do because
Mm-hmm.
the drum beating max speed, as we see in the final, it's been very crucial. And versus me, it was also very. It just completely destroyed my game plan. So if you look at my run, in my round uh 7 or 6, I think, or 4. One of my day 1 rounds I played this same team, or like similar team, but they were using slower Rillaboom, and they led Rillaboom, Kyogre. I had Urshifu and Lando on board. I went for Earth Power. I went for Surging Strike into Kyogre. Kyogre is gone. I'm very happy about it. And then when when I uh, when I went to my round 8, I was facing Calvin, and I saw the same team. I was like, oh, this is another team um, that I have prepared for. And then what happened was I still let the same thing. I did the same thing turn 1. Drum beating goes first. My Urshifu is gone. I was like, oh, that's a little different than I was expecting because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
read the team sheet, and it was actually a drum beating. I thought it was wood hammer, and I was also thinking it was like slower Rillaboom. And then that completely destroyed my game plan, or like my prep versus this team. And then I just couldn't come back from game 2. And then I thought about the whole team for like the whole night. And then day 2, when I was facing Oliver again on the same team, I think I put up a pretty good fight. We brought it to game 3, and it was pretty close, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. But it's still a pretty hard matchup. But it's like, now knowing that the Rilla is like a lot faster, you have to make a lot of different changes. Like I have to bring Iron Hands for fake out. I have to think about using Thunder Wave to get more speed control. Like maybe T Wave the Rilla and to make sure the Rilla is slower than my Urshifu. So like stuff like that. It's just like I think the drum beating is just a very, very smart choice that just flips a lot of the matchups because it allows the Kyogre all of a sudden to outspeed so many stuff that you're just not expecting as an opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm
looking at your schedule here now, and you played against Marcus, who also was using a very similar team, just a different Paradox booster Pokemon featuring a Dark type. And yeah, that it didn't have that drum beating Rillaboom, and it seems like that is actually a really cool tech in the meta right now with how much Urshifu there is, especially the ones that are running Adamant. And I don't know, I don't know if this is going to be the one thing in the meta that forces people to go Jolly Urshifu, but it's a thought. It's something that people are going to have to consider if they want to perhaps improve their chance against this team in particular. Do they commit and make their Urshifu do less damage just for this reason? I mean, it might be worth it. Who knows? That's the kind of stuff you'll see here in like post Worlds Reg G, where the teams have already been very refined, but now you're looking for every edge you can get.
Yeah. Also, I see William in chat. William, congratulations on winning the regional. It was awesome to see. All right, so.
Oh yes, thank you, Game Freak, for giving Kyogre 85% accuracy. You know what? I've always I was saying this when we were in Tub, just like stream spectating it. And my summary of the whole tournament was Kyogre player rolls the dice all the way to finals, and the world's winning team wins again. This is awesome. And like, I don't know, dude. I've played against Kyogre myself again, like at locals, because people at my locals like to use this team, and I just lost because they went like 10. I think I lost a finals. They went like 14 for 14 on Origin Pulse, and I was just like, can I catch a break at some point? Like I'm obviously not game planning on you missing, but if you did miss one, that would help. And yeah, I feel like this is something you sign up for when you run when you run Kyogre, when you run Groudon. Apparently, I'm just never gonna feel any sympathy for these people running these moves that can miss. I'm no Riley. I'm no, I have to run only 100% accurate moves type person. But when your restricted Pokemon is your powerhouse, I really like to choose reliable moves for my restricteds, like, Glacial Lance. I'm a big fan of Glacial Lance. Terra Starstorm, that's a pretty good one, too. Astral Mirage, yeah, I mean, those moves, they seem to be worth the amount that you have to pay for them. These guys, they're very much free, and I think there's a reason.
You want to click the $90 button instead of the free.
100%.
Yep. So
speaking on that though, I don't want to like jump around, but like I just mentioned it. Like maybe we do jump around because some of the other teams above that aren't thrilling. Fede Campo's Zama team was just a variant of something we've seen before. Oh, we put Assault Vest, a Raging Bolt on Zamazenta, thrilling. Pokealex also put Assault Vest, Raging Bolt in the place of a Rillaboom on a team. People are really cooking. Yeah, but I want to talk about the Groudons. Maybe we start with Pado's team. Because this is kind of nuts.
Yeah, Groudon. I mean, this is I think the exact team, or very close to the exact team that we saw Joe Garte using in Victory Road with the Jump Pluff. I couldn't tell you if there were some small changes here and there, but this was a team that I think a lot of people were hyping up going into the tournament, and I think a lot of people wrote off going into the tournament as it's just online tournaments. People are overreacting. This Groudon guy is not that good. But yeah, 2 Groudons in top 8, definitely one of the big storylines of the tournament. I guess we didn't really talk about it when that much. We did it on the tier list of tier list of tier list streams a little bit, like very briefly. But I don't know, Alex, have you kind of reassessed your thoughts on Groudon in this format?
I would say after seeing this finish, I would say that I felt like a little bit wrong on it. I mean, 2 top 8s is nothing to laugh at, and I don't know. I mean, Koraidon did, we're spoiling up ahead. I think it gets like a top 16 finish in Rio. Koraidon, it doesn't do a top 8. Nothing like crazy, and so I am wondering, is Groudon not the better Sunsetter right now? And it does kind of help that some of the Pokemon that you want to support with Sun are those photosynthesis dragons, and Koraidon, it's being a dragon itself, it can be a bit of an overlap, whereas Groudon, it provides very different coverage. Precipice Blade's a very valuable offensive type right now when people want to use their fire types to resist strong Sun attacks from Gouging Fire or Ogerpon or Instant or Volcarona or whatever. Then you have, Groudon there to kind of provide good offensive coverage, like typing, essentially. And yeah, Pado's team, I will say one thing really interesting about it is it feels like one of the teams most influenced by Regulation H. I don't think we saw much Jumpluff in Reg G before Worlds. I'm trying to think back. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but this definitely looks like, a set that we saw do well in Regulation H. Maybe not this exact set, but something close to it. And yeah, people were like, well, why not try that in Reg G?
And I guess I'll throw the question over to the people who were actually competing, who were actually preparing. Did you guys respect Groudon when you were preparing for your events, and were you surprised to see it do as well as it did? And Pedro, I'll let you go first.
Yes, actually, it's kind of funny because for me, I don't know. I always expect that I give bigger respect to the restricted Pokemon that are more popular, but I also wanted to try to have a little bit of respect for those who are not as popular, to at least have a game plan. I think I will go in details more when we talk about my team, but like the Talonflame is really good against Groudon, so that was a reason why, especially if goggles, then it just an overheat, so it absolutely cooks the Jumpluff set because now Groudon cannot hit Talonflame, and you can just be immune to sleep powder and one hit kill the jump left. So yes, I did prepare it. It was not the main reason why Talonflame was there, but yes, I did prepare it, and especially because I thought that Groudon was one of the worst matchups with Zamazenta and Koraidon. So I feel like I would try at least to have a Pokemon that, if it's, for example, like Zamazenta was the worst matchup, then if I have something that is good against Zamazenta and also can fit in the other matchups, I think like that's no reason why to not choose a Pokemon that can fit all these purposes. So, but yes,
Mhm.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Jinchi, what about you? How did you feel about Groudon going into the tournament, and were you surprised by its success?
Well, I'm not very surprised that like I kind of prepped versus Groudon, and I knew that there's those two archetypes. One of it is Joe's team was a jump up version, and the other one was what we call like the Chinese Sun, which is was the Volcarona, Qianpao stuff, and those two version, I did not specifically prep a lot into it because it was like a lot of travel, and I basically just picked up the team. But overall, I was expecting Ice Rider just have a better matchup into the Groudon teams because of its nature. It's like Blades is not gonna hit me for a lot of damage if I just set my screens up, and he Crash, like even if it's Terra Fire, it just doesn't do a lot because Ice Rider is just as heavy or like similar heavy as Groudon, just doesn't do much.
Mhm.
The Volcarona and as a Will-O-Wisp, and also the jump up using Sleep Powder are the most annoying parts, I would say. But you can still try to get away with it with either dodging the Sleep Powder or try to outplay with either like you can T-Wave yourself, you can also do a lot of other stuff like use when they Sleep Powder, you use for the other opponent, try to buy time for everything, stuff like that. It's like I didn't specifically prep versus it just because the matchup is um like Ice Rider versus Groudon, but I would say I also respected it because if I see a lot of Groudon, like I like in day two, like I would definitely run some sets with my friends to make sure like I
Mhm.
have specific lines built into the team. Yeah.
But just I want to add something that I didn't say. Is that
Mhm.
I, despite preparing and like not, I think as he said, like I didn't prepare as well because I knew it was not such a popular match, but I had in mind. But I think I was surprised to see do it well. I don't think it was going to do really well, simply because of the fact that I don't think it's very consistent. You are able to miss a lot of moves, especially sleep powder. I would never enter a tournament with sleep powder. I think that's. I mean, it turns out well for them, and it's kind of funny because in a way, yes, I was wrong that it was not that it was more popular than I thought, but at the same time, I don't even think there was a single Groudon and day two of Rio. So I mean, I
Yep.
guess I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where
Yeah.
knowing the regional metagame is so important too, because I think I saw, I can pull up the Rio standings. I think there was one Groudon that got points in the entire tournament, and then like you said, there was also one Groudon. There were two Groudons that got top 64, and yeah, both of them. One of them made day two, so there's one Groudon in day two, and it was a very different
So,
version with Walking Wake. So yeah, very different performance from between Rio and Birmingham. And I think that that's kind of I still kind of don't respect Groudon. I still feel like yeah, like you said, it's still inconsistent. I still feel like you're working harder than you have to win your games. And it probably has like a pretty good Maridon matchup, I imagine. But the rest of the matchups you still are playing a lot of
Mm.
Pokemon. Um,
So, Adi, I wanna cut you off here really quick. Just go pull up Pato's schedule because I find it very amusing.
okay, that I can do.
Um, yeah, you're gonna go ahead and see here because I was curious as well. It's just like this is a restricted that should have a very good Miraidon matchup. I was like, surely Pato didn't lose to any Miraidon. I want to double check that, just make sure.
He didn't play it.
Yeah, he didn't lose to any Miraidon. He also didn't win against any Miraidon.
Damn. Fair enough.
He just didn't play any. He didn't play a single Miraidon. That is like honestly, if I was him, even making it to top 8, I'd be upset. I would just be like, what the heck? This is like unreal. Especially seeing it win the tournament. It's like, give me that guy. This is like I could have been the one to stop this. I was ready for this. I came specifically prepared, and I think this does make me respect Groudon just a little bit more. The fact that Pato was able to finish at a solid 11-3 top 8 while playing 0 times against the archetype this one targets. We have Miraidon expert consulting us in the Twitch chat here. Roshan says the Groudon Miraidon matchup isn't actually extremely positive for Groudon with the current construction. 4 out of 6 mons kind of get owned, and it's just a Hearthflame Groudon versus the whole team situation. Yeah, I guess. Blades just hits a lot of the Pokemon really hard, and on top of that, if it's the Urshifu Water version, using the Sun to reduce the damage you take from that Pokemon can be extremely helpful. But yeah, I have not. Honestly, I've not really played it myself to get a really good handle on either end because I'm not a Groudon player or a Miraidon player. But I have to imagine if they're hitting every Blades, that it's generally going to work out for Groudon.
That's a big if, though.
No. They'll always hit them. They'll always hit them, except when they need to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. This guy also not play a Miraidon the entire tournament? No, we played one.
One Miraidon. They did beat it.
Yeah.
I went and checked the other one, and I didn't mention it because the anecdote wasn't as funny, but honestly, still a little bit funny, only getting one. But yes, Pato playing 0 Miraidon, that's got to be a bit of a tilter, if you're in that situation. And I don't know, this is not even necessarily a great example of the narrative I'm trying to peddle, but I do think Regulation G is just one of the most scuffed metagames we've ever had for this reason. I mean, Junji, your run was not it was also a decent example of this. You said you didn't play any Zamazenta.
Played 0
which played zero Zamazenta, and that is probably something you spent a good amount of time preparing for, right?
Yeah, I did.
But if you could see into the future, it would be just such a load off of your back or whatever, to just be like, all right, future Junshi, you don't have to fight Zamazenta in practice at all. You're never going to fight it at the tournament. You would be like, that makes life so much easier. I'm actually going to just change my team. I'm going to make edits to my team just because I know I'm never fighting this restricted. It is just, I know that is a symptom of every format in VGC, but I feel like single restricted makes this even a little bit more prevalent because of how much the head-to-head restricted matchups play out. It doesn't decide the whole thing, like I was jokingly saying in my introduction earlier, but it is really annoying when you go into a tournament expecting to fight 0 Kyogre and instead you fight 4, right, Adi?
I mean, right, exactly. And I mean, Jinchi had the exact same experience here, where he faced 4 Kyogre. Legitimately, right? It's so weird because I feel like the player who wins is often the player who quote unquote makes the meta call. So and that means that you generally face favorable matchups over the course of your tournament run, especially in top cut. But you're right, there is so much variance. And so you can accurately say oh yeah, CSR is going to underperform this tournament. CSR was one of the worst performing restricteds at this tournament. There was 1 in top 16. But then it doesn't matter because you still might queue into 4 of them in day 1, right? Again, I'm looking at Jinchi's schedule and using you as the example, right? And then sometimes it doesn't matter if you are able to make that meta call because there's just so much variance anyways, and especially in a format like this where I'm going to try to pull up the usage stats. I think that was on Victor Rowe's page, where there are so many restricteds that you could face because, yeah, I mean, look at this. Give it a second to pull up. My computer's very slow. But there are so many restricteds that are all seeing play. Come on, load, please.
Adi, I think I'm opening the site too, and I might be having. I'm a bit behind on stream delay, but I was having the same issue. Oh no, there maybe. Okay, I am. I think the site's just loading slowly.
It's just loading slowly. But yeah, you can see here. Like, look, there are what, 4 restricteds, 5 restricteds that you could. I mean, 5 restricteds that you could see. You should expect to see 1 to 2 times in a tournament, right? 6 restricted, 6 Tropicos and Kyogre. And then you look at Groudon getting 2 in top 8. Like, these are all high usage restricteds. These are all Pokemon you have to prep for. Even if you make the meta call, you're still very likely to get burned for it. And so it is very frustrating to try to prepare in this format.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm on the minority here, but I it's not that I disagree, but I feel like one thing that I like about this regulation is although you have like 5 to 7, you have like 5 that you are like have a really high chance to face, and you have 2 that you or 3 that you may face. Like, I feel like that's kind of annoying, but at the same time, you are like the likelihood that you're facing one of the restrict that is not of them, it's like really low. So, and most of them play very similarly. So I think that's 5. For example, I think in Reg H, there was like 2 archetypes. For example, there was Heart Trick Room and Dondozo that were not very popular, at least at the end of the regulation. But if you don't prepare for them, you're gonna get absolutely destroyed because like teams are uh, as the firepower is weaker, the defensive as well. So like I don't know. At the same time, yes, it feels kind of frustrating for preparing for a match and not facing them. But at the same time, I feel like it's even more frustrating because for me, at least, like I went to LAIC, which I made day 2, and like I think I didn't have much time to prepare, and I was like, okay, I probably not gonna face a lot of hard trick room matchups if it's not a. I don't think it's the meta core right now, and they won phase 2 and I lost both. Fortunately enough, I won all the other rounds that were not hard trick room, but I think was not a very reasonable meta call to say, oh, hard tricking is going to be really popular because it was not. But at the same time, like if you don't prepare it well, like it's not. Maybe if you don't prepare well to ground, then you can win. But like I don't any on your team, if you don't prepare for hard tricking, you're gonna get absolutely destroyed by these hyper offensive styles. I don't know. It's just my take.
I think that's also reasonable, right? I did feel that I did have that feeling a little bit in Regulation H as well. But I don't know. I've got mixed feelings. But
yes, I do as well. I think it's just like, but I think that in a way it's kind of bad, but in a way it's also good that you pretty much have the exact amount you're gonna face. So it's maybe unexpected, but and I think as well like. I didn't prepare expecting to face one restrictor more than the other. I just prepared like, okay, I'm gonna have a well thought out game plan against all of them, and maybe ones I a little bit of a better matchup, and the others I will have a bit of a worse matchup. But in general, I would have at least a 50-50 matchup in my favor.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah, that is the ideal. If you can at least have a game plan into everything, then you at least know what you're doing, and you should absolutely. The best prep is going to involve that. I actually have a question. Somebody messaged me this or DM'd me it, but we should have mentioned it earlier. Juji, what is up with your Landorus? Because the ability on it.
Yeah, so so apparently this was a team sheet error. I when I was entering the Pokemon on Arcanine, it's a bad habit on me. I like basically it's like if I use a new Pokemon, I enter a new Pokemon. If I'm using a Pokemon that I change it from something else, like for example from Kali Shadow to Kali Ice, I just edit the Pokemon. So apparently this Landorus was um, the Landorus I was using at Pittsburgh last year. It was Terra
Mm-hmm.
Water has Intimidate because I didn't want to change the Terra using Terra shards. So I just changed that Lando to this Lando Incarnate, and I also did the edit on Arcanine instead of using adding a new Pokemon. So and I forgot to change the ability, so it became a Landorus Eye with Intimidate, which is not possible in the game. Yeah.
When did
But
you catch it?
so at round 3, my opponent caught it, and because of that, like my opponent was still cool with it. He's like, we can still just keep playing with it. He's like, he's fine with it. And the judge, we called the judge. The judge came by, gave me a warning, and um, like I was supposed to be given a game loss for that game 1, but my opponent was cool. Just said, he said like we can just go on and play that game, and I was a little bit like distracted because of that, and I lost that game 1, but I won game 2 and 3, and came back from it. Yeah, but I got basically that game. I got that game lost at game 3, at round 3, and then afterwards I got the sheet reprinted, and everything was fine afterwards. And yeah, I think it's also like I think it's also fortunate on me because the Pokemon did not get removed. Otherwise, I would not be able to make that top 8. Yeah, because Landers is
Mm-hmm.
like a very important piece in this team. If you think about like the Ice Rider, like the Glacial Lens plus Sandstorm just breaks through a lot of stuff. So yeah, like it's very important.
Mhm.
So this message goes out to players who have the capability of cutting or players who are new to the game. A little bit of advice: just check your team sheet when they hand it to you round 1. Just look through everything and make sure that it matches up what you're expecting. Honestly, the easiest one to miss is like if you changed the Terra type last second but forgot to update it on Arcanine, or if you typed in water and just hit enter on your water spout Kyogre and it put in water sport accidentally. There's a lot of simple things like that. I played against a Shadow Claw Flutter on the team sheet, but I didn't know if Flutter learned Shadow Claw or not, so I didn't think to raise my hand and call a judge. I was just like, you know, maybe it learns it, and maybe maybe they noticed this already. It was like round 2 or something. I was like, maybe they corrected their sheet to accurately reflect this. They never clicked Shadow Ball in the set because why would a Flutter click that? They're always clicking fairy moves anyway. And then afterwards, I googled it and I was like, oh, Flutter does not learn Shadow Claw. I could have maybe called them out on that. And by the way, I did lose this set to the Shadow Claw Flutter. I didn't want to like steal that win from them. They won it fair and square. But I was just staring at that like, I really don't know the right answer to this. I feel like it doesn't get Shadow Claw. That thing doesn't have any claws. But it was pretty amusing.
I just want to say, then again, in my opinion, I think you should always call the judge on the match because I don't know, maybe someone can give better advice, but I think there was one time that I saw a team sheet error after the match was over. It was actually a funny story. I was against Riley Factura on the São Paulo regionals that was rank F last year, I think. And then I like thought, why did you double? I think he double Among Us. And it said, because you're Terra Fire. And I was like, no, I'm Terra Water. And like, oh, your team sheet's wrong. By the way, exactly by the same error that, uh, that he, oh my God, I forgot your name, sorry. That,
Sushi?
yeah, Jushi made, like to have, because I already had another Terra Fire Among Us from other tournament. And what happened in this case was that I went to the judges, and they ruled a game loss in the other round. Despite like, so I have to, I would have had to won 2-0 I eventually did, fortunately, but like this is, I think like this can be kind of annoying to have a game loss for your next matchup. I don't know, maybe like it doesn't matter, but at least for me, I don't know as well. Like maybe if it's illegal move, then it doesn't matter. But I think like it's better to know on the spot because at least like your tournament run doesn't get destroyed like later on.
Hmm.
So
I actually have a pretty hot. Oh, go ahead, Adi.
I was gonna say I have some stories too, but if you want to go ahead with your hot take, that works.
My hot take, and I think it is legitimately a hot take. Like people can come at me for this one if they want, but um, I played against world's runner-up, or maybe not anymore, but Guillermo Castilla at Australia, and we had gotten to the third game, and this Golden Go goes for Terra Water, and it says Steel on the sheet. And so my hand shot up. I was like, all right, I'm called a judge. Like, this has drastically affected the outcome of this match. And I get the win for that one, and I think that's not. I don't think that's unreasonable because the Terra was literally used to an advantage that should not have been there. But my hot take is that I think something like that should probably be a DQ, unfortunately, because of how it impacts all of the games that were played before it. It seems that this was round 3, I think, of the whole tournament, and Guillermo had probably not Terra'd Golden Go until this point. So that's why it had gone unnoticed for so long. But we play in an open team sheet environment, which means that we make decisions based on what we read on the team sheet. And I think it's just kind of like dishonest or like against the spirit of the game. I don't know, something like that. This is why, again, I feel like it should be a DQ. Is that like everybody that played Casti at the before this point? Yeah, I think a DQ from the whole tournament. I'm sorry to say it. And that's why I advise everybody to really check their team sheets beforehand, because the people that lost maybe played the game differently because of the inaccurate thing on the team sheet here, and it's just like it affected the outcome of the matches in a way that unfortunately can't be rectified. They can't go back and replay those sets with the correct thing listed on the team sheet. But like if I lost a match because I was like, oh, I can't bring my Amoonguss against Terragrass Iron Hands. They'll just Terragrass and win it every time. I'm gonna bench my Amoonguss in these matches, and then I lose. It's just like, oh, actually, I was Terra Water Iron Hands the whole time. It's like, oh, well, then I would have brought my Amoonguss. I think that's why it's a hot take. I do think that this is a very harsh penalty for a simple mistake, but I think it has such drastic impacts on the tournament that I think people just need to be more careful with how they're entering their things, and to just like triple check it when they're handed it. Like, I mean, I triple check all my sheets when I submit them on Arcanine, and then I triple check it when I get handed it in person. And I don't know. I haven't had a team sheet error at a major ever, but yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think that this is too hot of a take? I'm curious. Adi, what do you think?
It is. I had 2 anecdotes ready to go, and you made me change it to a third different anecdote because you reminded me of a different thing that happened to me. That is way more applicable and less funny. But yeah, no, I think that there are situations in which I don't know about the specific situation with Cassie, because I get what you're saying, but also like it is immediately obvious when it happens with the Terra type. But the one that I think has annoyed me the most, and still kind of annoys me, was at a League Cup that I played in, where my opponent had Technician Mousehold on their team sheet. I think they got this right. They had Technician Mousehold on their team sheet, and so I played like they were Technician. I had to I had to prioritize KOing it because it has way more power. But 2, I remember I missed a KO on one of their Pokemon when the Mousehold was next to it, and they switched it in. And I was like, oh, that's a relatively bulky Pokemon, I guess. Like, I guess I don't know my calcs very well. I never even thought about the fact that it might be Friend Guard. And they got to I lost that set, and they got to the finals. And then in the finals, they won the finals, and then they got team checked, and they got a loss in finals because they had the wrong ability on their Mousehold. But like that substantially changes the way that I play against that Pokemon. Like entirely changes the way that you play against that Pokemon, and is also entirely unverifiable, right? Like the way to verify it is you know your calcs really, really well, which especially defensive calcs is very hard to do. That one I think like I don't know. There's no like really good solution to it once it happens, but like those are the type of things that I'm like, that really should be a DQ. The wrong Terra type, like the errors that are easy to, I don't know. I feel like people make mistakes and they shouldn't be DQ'd because they make a small mistake or they literally jot down something incorrectly. But I also think that there are some, like I agree. I think that there are some mistakes that you make that impact not only the opponent that you just played who caught the mistake, but also because of open team sheets, the all the games before that, and those should be, I don't know, like those should be treated a little more harshly.
Yeah, Junji, what do you think? Hot or not? Do you think I'm crazy? If you can say it, because Rajan is in here in the chat calling me dumb, and I think that he's totally valid for it. So I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I think it's it kind of depends on the how big the mistake is gonna change. People are gonna look at how people are gonna play the game. Like in my case, you see. If you see a Lando I was intimidated, you'll be like, "Oh, this is apparently an error. There's something wrong with the team sheet, 100%." Like the only thing you need to make sure is like, "Oh, is this actually a Lando T or is it a Lando I?" And you make game plans from there. But you're like, it's not gonna cause confusion, or like it shouldn't cause confusion on the whole gameplay. But let's if we're still looking at my team, like if my Cali Ice, it says Terra Normal, but if all of a sudden I'm not Terra Normal, I'm actually Terra Fire, and people cannot like that would make a very big difference because like if I'm Terra Normal, people can pin it with like Astro Barrage plus Close Combat. But if I'm something else, like let's say if I just turn out to be Terra Fairy for some reason, now that's a lot more different that because people cannot do the same thing anymore. Like they have to pin it with like Surging Strike plus Astro Barrage and not the same attack. So it's like I think it kind of depends on the situation, but um I'm not sure I'm not sure if DQ is like too big. As like I see Rajan saying like DQ is like a little bit too big. Like he wants the opponent to get DQ'd when it negatively impacts him. But I mean, like it kind of comes down to how the judge is gonna call it. I would say, yeah. Like the rules right now, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's something we're following. And if everyone is following, I think it's okay. But if we are gonna change it to like a harsher rule, I would also understand. Like that's totally understandable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, I was thinking of the Landorus one in a slightly different angle. As I was just like, well, I know that it's probably not meant to be intimidate, but is it sheer force or sand force? Because technically, doesn't Lando also have that ability? I was thinking about it. I was like, it doesn't just have one. That guy has two. Landorus Incarnate, or sorry, Landorus Therian only has the one, right? It can only be intimidate. But yeah, of course you're going to be sheer force on like 99% of teams. Just don't make errors and you're good. Like that's kind of my stance, unfortunately. But like I'm also very here for the people that are saying like people make mistakes and like we shouldn't like be too harsh with them. Absolutely. Sorry that I cut you off. I think Pedro, you had something to add.
yes. No, that's not no problem. That's fine. I have like I don't think that's unreasonable to think, but the thing I disagree is that you are assuming that because the punishment is harder, then the mistakes on the team sheets are going to go down, which I don't think it will, because I think
Fair.
it's already a harsh punishment. So people are already like, if you're careless, I think like if there is a punishment, you should be careful. Like I don't think the people who are careless are going to be more careful because the punishment is better. It's stronger. And the other thing is that I don't think as well this impacts positively the people that could have possibly lost the like for example let's say the guy the experience that CK9 told that he thought that the mouse hold was a different ability, not friend guard. uh, would this be an interesting outcome to okay, he lost, and then finals, hack check, it's wrong, he got killed, and then the other player won. Like for me, that's changed nothing. For I'm still getting fourth place, whatever place. The like my loss is not going to count as a win because the other player got punished, heavily punished. So I think
Right.
it doesn't, and it's also like most of the time it's also a mistake that is involuntarily. So and I think this comes a lot. It comes a long way to understand that there's a huge amount of difference when the mistake is done intentionally and when it's not. And in this case, I don't think there's no player, even with the most evil intentions, would actually change something the team sheet to
That's just stupid.
get
Right.
an advantage.
Yeah.
So I think that have the 2 points. So I think it wouldn't actually make people necessarily more careful, or if is going to be, is not going to be to a substantial amount. And the second thing is also, I don't think this benefits the player that have already lost because of that of that team cheat error that happened.
No, those are some good points. Those are some really good points. Is that yeah, them getting DQ'd doesn't change the fate of the people that they played earlier. So that's pretty real. But I think the first part is the where I would hope the harsher penalty makes people more careful. But you might be right. People might just not change, and it's just gonna keep messing up, and it doesn't really fix anything. And so yeah, if the harsher penalty doesn't cause people to be more careful, then there's no point at all. 100%.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and move on. We've got a couple. We still haven't even started talking about Rio, but I do have a couple teams I want to quickly go over that were we talked about this metagame, not super interesting. Teams are kind of boring, and I by and large think that's true. But there were a couple of really cool teams that did well at Birmingham regionals. The first I wanted to point out is Javier's team. I think this is Proman, and he got he went top 16, but he actually went X1 in Swiss and then lost his first round of top cut with Iron Leaves, which is not a Pokemon that I've seen a lot of. And I saw there was also one of these that did well in Rio. I saw there were 2 or 3 Iron Leaves in day 2 of Birmingham. People are using Iron Leaves on the standard Arabega Miraidon team over the Ogerpon, it looks like. And it is kind of cool to see. With Terra Normal, Psyblade, Megahorn, Leaf Blade. Y'all got any thoughts about Iron Leaves? Better than Ogerpon?
Uh,
Are you Junshi, are you super familiar with like the in-game ladder? This was somebody from Japan who originally started the like Terra Normal Iron Leaves trend, right?
Yeah. I'm looking for the link. I think they actually posted like a team report about it a few weeks ago. Yeah.
I'm also trying to do some digging because I remember this team pre-Worlds and yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to find where like it originally started because there was somebody who did well on the in-game ladder. I think it wasn't like a specific like high tournament result. I think it was just like an end of the season battle stadium type successful run where they had Terra Normal Iron Leaves. And I believe that's what started the popularity of it. Popularity, maybe overselling it. Sorry, maybe just like the original instance of it.
Yeah, I found it actually.
Okay, wait. Which link is it?
Yeah, so I sent 2 links. The first one is like just a like a very it's like a just like a team report, and the second one it's like more deep into everything. Like they have how to choose like what monster to pick, what monster to leave, what's in the back for each matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, this first link you sent is dated August 26th. So, yeah, I remember this team back then. I mean, I guess that would be post Worlds though, right? But
yeah,
yeah,
I can't remember what the actual what does it say here? Season 20, second place. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think season 20 was before Worlds.
Yeah, it's right before Worlds.
That tracks.
Cool.
Did Aaron also feature this one on Road to Ranked? Yeah, that definitely tracks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically just trying to give credit where credit is due. I remember seeing this idea back then. But regardless, though, talking about the actual team, it is crazy because I'll be honest, like I'm gonna have to go read this team report to learn why. I never bothered to learn why because I was like, I don't really care. It's just an Iron Leaves. It looks like this is almost exactly that team. I think I'm looking at it back and forth, and I feel like it might be just the exact rental. I'm seeing too many things that match up. But yeah, I don't know what Terra Normal Iron Leaves is doing. I don't know what it is like. Why that's the solution? Because like anytime we see Terra Normal, we understand. Okay, that's good into Astro Mirage, Shadow Rider. But nothing about this Pokemon screams like, yeah, I'm auto winning against Shadow Rider. Like I'm just kind of like, I bet that Life Orb Quark Drive, because it's probably Quark Drive speed. I bet that Life Orb Leaf Blade is doing a solid like 55% after Intimidate less than half. Like I don't know, what are we doing here?
Maybe
Yeah, I
it's
feel
good on
like
the
the
mirror.
actual.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Junshi.
Yeah,
Oh
sorry.
yeah. Yeah, I was saying like I feel like the actual answer to Ice Rider is more like the instance saw because they have like AV with uh with like a lot of bulk on everything. So
Oh, you mean Shadow Rider?
that yeah, for Shadow Rider, the instant saw is probably just like they have instant on they have AV on the instant and stuff Iron Hands, which is like
Right.
which is like usually we have it the other way, like we have an instant carrying something like safety goggles or like Rocky helmet, and then Hands having the AV, but they have it this way, so that I guess that's probably their Shadow Rider matchup. But yeah, I wouldn't expect Terra Normal Iron Leaves to come into play for for Shadow Rider a lot. Yeah.
But then why is it Terra Normal? What else is it? Like, what else? Just run a different Terra. I don't know. Run Ghost Terra because you want to be immune to Fake Out because this team doesn't actually have anti-Fake Out with Giraffe. Run like, I don't know, Terra Fire to resist the fairy moves that are being targeted. Wait, no, this thing isn't even weak to fairy. It's Psychic Grass. I guess fire. Fire still resists fire. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess if this team has already been talked about a little bit, I do want to keep moving a little bit because I got a couple other teams.
Let's go ahead.
The other part of the is it the Justice Trio? Is that what they're called? I don't know. The Musketeers.
Oh, the fake Kobala or the fake the Zamazenta from Wish is what you're talking about.
Yes. So the Cobalion, they got top 8 with Iron Defense, Body Press, Electric Seed. Another Miraidon team that had 1 or 2 Pokemon different. Actually, this one's a little bit different from the standard one. This is a set that we actually saw do well at Japan Nationals. It got top 12 at Japan Nationals with I think the same set on a Calyrex Shadow Rider team. Ooh, Grassy Seed on a Calyrex Shadow Rider team as a fake Zamazenta, which is kind of cool to see just as a different like fighting type option that you can use. I don't know why it's better than Urshifu, but people sure are using it.
Yep. No, it's hilarious. It's hilarious to see. I guess it's probably. I don't know. I really don't know what it's better into. It's so goofy.
It beats Ice
Yeah,
Rider,
it is just
I
a
guess.
budget Zamazenta.
It's an Ice Rider matchup. That's something.
It's funny because it's a budget Zamazenta, but Zamazenta we were already several people are theorying about the double restricted format that is to come eventually, and Zamazenta Miraidon's not really a combo I'm hearing people talk about. I guess the synergy here is that Electric Seed is something that Miraidon activates, and so that just makes sense. But yeah, I would have thought, like you said earlier, Shadow Rider, wanting to pressure dark and normal types with a fighting type attack would probably synergize a bit better there. This is just kind of silly, kind of fun. Are there any other teams though that you guys are seeing in day 2 that stand out as interesting or notable to you?
Yeah, we got to talk about this one. We got to talk about the Eternatus.
Which one is it? Hold on.
There were 2 Eternatus in day 2.
Oh yes, that's the one I was about to grab.
And they were both Cosmic Power. Of
course they were. Fisher Dozo. Yeah, this is just like the slowest pace thing you can try to play, and Yeah, I mean, it lives forever. I don't know. I feel like I might be able to just take that thing to time, just like kill everything else and just leave it be. Because what is just Sludge Bomb doing? I know this guy's got like a 145 special attack stat, but no ability that
He's got pressure. What do you mean?
that
You're
ramps
never
up the
gonna KO
damage.
it.
Pressure is not too bad. Pressure is not too
Well-
bad. I will give you that because there are a lot of low PP moves in the format. Absolutely. Starstorm,
and,
Surging Strike,
you know,
Astral Barrage.
Sludge Bomb is really good neutral coverage into the format. There's not a ton of poison types in the format, and there's not a ton of things that actually like. There's no steel types really. The main poison type that doesn't Terra
No, really,
is
yeah.
Amoonguss, which is also neutral to it. So like, mono Sludge Bomb is not a bad move to be locked into. It is going to, and especially off that base 145 special attack stat you said, it's going to do a decent chunk to a lot of different things. I guess Zamazenta is the one thing that you do kind of get walled by, but they also get you. You also wall them, right? Because you're very heavy and you're not taking damage from body press. I would not want to get into that stalemate by any means. But yeah, no, I mean like. I think it's we talked about this on the every restricted as an NFL player where I was like, this guy sucks, and Nails was like, no, I think it has potential, and I guess it did have potential. Ricardo went 8-3 with it at this regional.
I almost ran out of DLC move PP a couple of times. I like that you just don't specify because all the DLC moves are like 8 PP.
And also like
including
you said, you
Urshifu.
take it to
Anyway.
time, but like Eternatus can legitimately KO 3 of your Pokemon, right? And then it has a massive HP
That's
stat.
where I'm
so
wondering, can it?
Probably, and then it has a massive HP stat, so it might just win the 1v1,
Yeah.
right? Even against the Zama.
Yeah. Dude, Adi, it's been a minute. Let me quiz you. I can't remember. Having high HP, is this good or bad for 1v1 tiebreaker purposes? Remember the chancy strategies of
Yeah, so
years past?
it's good. It's good
think
if
it was
the
low,
Pokemon
right?
that has a high HP
was-
stat. No. So the way it's calculated is your total HP remaining divided by the total HP of the 4 Pokemon that you brought. And so because Eternatus
right.
is presumably the 1 Pokemon remaining, it has a really high HP stat, and the rest of your Pokemon are relatively low. So you will have a higher overall percentage. I say that looking at the Farigiraf and the Dondozo that also have massive base HP stats, so maybe not nearly as much. But whereas if you expect a normal Pokemon to survive, then you want the rest of your Pokemon, the ones like if you have Shinichi is a bad example. If you have a Porygon 2 surviving that has a pretty middling HP stat, then you want the rest of your Pokemon that have died to have a very low HP stat. That's optimal.
Yeah. But as long as they can have 2 Pokemon left, then they win. So, anyways, I don't actually know if this team goes to time that often because there are a lot of strong presences in the format. So, it in itself is not that weak.
Yeah.
I think one last thing before we move on to Rio, Adi, is there were 3 Sneaslers that got points. This was one of the other things that people were having their hot takes coming off of Reg H, like, Sneasler's not going to go anywhere. We realize now that this Pokemon's too good not to use. There were people that were fighting for this, fighting this opinion pretty hard, and I was just like, I don't really believe in it. 283s, I would say that's probably good enough to completely the doubters can't say they're entirely right, but it's not that impressive. Definitely not running the format or anything.
Huh? Did someone run Psychic Seed on their shout out to Anthony the user running Psychic Seed on their Maridon team? Very cool, very cool.
Oh no, wait. The one that went 5-3, they definitely just took their no. I wonder if they ended up getting that fixed as a team sheet error or if
Oh, I'm sure they got that fixed.
that's
I'm
too
sure they got that
funny.
fixed. That's very funny. Anyways, yeah, I think we've all said our piece about Sneasler, and I do want to talk about Rio before we move on.
Let's do it.
Because we also got to talk about San Antonio. I forgot about that. So real quick, Rio de Janeiro, the other regional that happened. Pedro, do you know how many players were at this regional?
I think was a little bit less than 200 players. So I think 180, 190.
Okay, That's still a really solid number, especially
Yes.
for LATAM. And I imagine Rio is probably one of the more accessible cities in LATAM. So I think I saw a bunch of players from all over South America attending this one. And
Yes, sure.
yeah, so 7 rounds in day 1, and then 2 rounds of day 2, plus top. It looks like what top 14 cut is what it looks like.
I
And it
think it was
was
16.
top 16 cut. It looks like the bottom 2 went 6-3. Um,
Oh, or maybe I did count wrong. I don't know.
um,
Mm, did I
but
count wrong? Let's see.
Well, wait, wouldn't it be a just like a?
let's pull it up.
It's an uneven cut, right?
Yeah, it's uneven cut. Or maybe it wasn't an uneven cut. Maybe that's what it was.
No, it was uneven.
Oh, so yeah, so it was it looks like it was 14 players in top cut here.
No, it was
Yeah,
14.
top four.
I did count wrong.
Top
Sorry.
14 sounds good.
So, and then we got and then of course it was won by Juan Salerno using Ice Rider. I heard Ice Rider is washed up, but guess what? It got first and second place at this tournament. Had a really big finish in top 4. It really popped off here. But before we talk about that, Pedro, I will let you. I know you've been waiting for this because you had a really cool team and you did really well. Tell me about your team and tell me about your tournament run.
Well, talk about my team. There is a lot of things to talk about, right? There's a lot of Pokemon that people are like, "What the hell is this?" I think like, just for curiosity, I think like I thought about it, and I think like outside of Incineroar, I think the other 4 Pokemon there was no other Grimmsnarl, Ogerpon, Wellspring. Ogerpon, Wellspring, yes, some Pokemon that is like not really used that often. I decided to use, and obviously like the thing that calls attention is like Sinistcha and Talonflame. I'm gonna like, but the main idea was this idea with Sinistcha because I realized Sinistcha is really good with Terrapagos, and I like it's kind of weird how that went under radar. I see a lot of, and this is gonna be all my takes, right? So, but for me, Sinistcha feels way better than Among Us as a Terrapagos partner because I mean a lot of reasons. It is a ghost, so yes, it's worse against Kali Shadow, but you are allowed to you are not weak to fake out, so he cannot be fake out. He has Trick Room, which is super helpful, especially because Terrapagos is in that speed tier, which is not fast, but also not really slow. And then and in my team, I have both Tailwind and Trick Room, so depending on the matchup, I could use them or not use any speed control at all. And it has redirection, so it does pretty much all the things that Among Us does with the added benefit of hospitality, which is insane because you can uh, keep switching Terrapagos. That's also one of the reasons that I use parting shot on Grimmsnarl because you can parting shot, switch, then go back to Terrapagos, reset the Terra Shell, and still lowering the opponent's attack. And in this case, it's even better that parting shot goes first because usually it's not that good, but in this case, it's good. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it was just such a good Pokemon to use with Terrapagos, and it's kind of funny because I had this idea like at the beginning of Red G. It's not like this. I had this idea like when it's returning. No, I had this idea for months, and no
Mm-hmm.
one did until like, or at least did well in a tournament until now. And at least for me, I think it's pretty much strictly better than Among Us, especially in a format where Miraidon exists.
Mm-hmm.
You're not
Mm-hmm.
chance that you are not going to put Pokemon to sleep very often. Um, so yeah, and again, the rest of the team, I think like there's the Grimmsnarl, which is a little bit different because I don't use Screams, and the reason why I do not use Screams is because I don't know, like I feel like Screams is not that it doesn't help. With special defense, you already have so much, and with physical defense, I think like I decided to go because the thing is like I would use Reflect against Kali Ice and probably Zamazenta and other few matchups, but I did realize that against Zamazenta, Grimmsnarl is very passive. You're not going to do a whole lot if you're facing Zamazet and Champao, for example. Yes, you can put screens, but you're taking a lot of damage anyway. Um, what else can I say? Like, I decided to use foul play. I think that's very standard. I like this idea from Eric Rios that he used covered cloak. So with foul play
Hmm.
on, which is really good against Kalidex Ice Rider, which is very unfortunate for me because in top 8 I lost to the champ one, and he used a Kali Ice with Terra Fairy. So that was really annoying.
Yep.
So he couldn't deal very much damage. I think that matchup was horrible, by the way, because he had also Incineroar of Taunt, and my Incineroar is really slow to get parting shots after the other Incineroar used parting shots. What else I can say? Ogre Pawn. I was somewhat thinking choosing Rock instead of Water, but it did pay off. Most of the time, it survived one hit anyways. He does a lot of. It was amazing against Kyogre. I really wish I was in Europe meta to pick a lot of Kyogres because this team is like really against Kyogre. I faced one and I
Yep.
2 really easily because you can disable rain. He not like click moves like Origin Pulse with Ogerpon Wellspring very consistently. You always bait the Terra with Terra Grass and then you Terra Star Storm, doing super effective damage. You also have Grimmsnarl with Taunt to deny the Calm Minds and the Amungus. Well, there's a lot of tools, and the Incineroar is very standard. Also, there is the Chopper Berry, which is also very standard. Um, and I mean, the idea counters Amazenta, and also it's really good against the nozzle set that is picking up in popularity. Is allow and also this team is not that good against Urshifu Dark, so this is also something that helps against Urshifu Dark. This listener can intimidate, pick up the close combat very well, and Will-O-Wisp after. And then last thing is the Talon Flame, which was the last Pokemon that it did that. I was playing with these five that I had previously mentioned a lot, and I didn't knew what the sixth slot going to be, and then I decided on Talon Flame, which is very unusual for Hack G, with a very unusual set. And the idea was that I realized that it was really good against Zamazenta, Groudon, and Koraidon. I mean, Groudon and Koraidon, you can kind of make a case that is not that good because of Raging Bolt, which is true in a some extent. But the fact that you can also like kind of bait the Raging Bolt in my practice, I did kind of a lot that like the Raging Bolt wants to kill uh, Talonflame really badly, so you can like protect Talonflame, Calm Mind to stall a turn, and then Tailwind and Terapagos can do a lot of damage as well. You can burn or Groudon and Koraidon. If they Terra, your Terra Star Storm is doing really big damage.
Hmm.
And was mainly for Zamazenta because it resists both its stabs. It's trained to outspeed Adam and Chenpao, although a lot of people were using Jolly. I understand it's kind of okay because if they're using Jolly, they are not that much attack. He's trained heavily on his defenses and speed, so he can go for fast Will-O-Wisp on this, especially Zamazenta, but also on Chenpao. I think I did a practice with my friend and like I burned three Pokemon. I think he Terra Dente and I burned Entei, I burned Zamazenta, burned Urshifu Dark. I like it's
How
very.
uh how did you do against Zamazenta at the tournament?
I didn't face any, so in a way, good, but in
I might
another,
have asked
like
because I knew the answer. I was just looking at the schedule here, and I'm like, a Turtle
yes,
player not
I did.
facing Zama. You must have been very happy.
Yes, in a way, yes. In another, was like, damn, I could have wish I showed this Talonfan really potential, but
Right.
in another way, like it's overheat, which is not at all standard. And I feel like, okay, if I want to kill, because there was two Pokemon that I was went to trying to kill, which is Amungus and Zamazenta, um, and like I thought that overheat was way better against Zamazenta for obvious reasons. If he's Terragrass, which is a little bit annoying for my team, then overheat is a lot better. And it's always if you
Yeah, I
can
like that.
also overheat and use another move to double up on Among Us and kill it. You can Will-O-Wisp your own Terapagos sometimes to deny the spore. Amoonguss
Yeah.
is not a very big problem on my team because I have a lot of checks. I have Taunt, I have Follow Me on Ogrepon, and I also have Talonflame safety goggles and also Sinistcha with Grass. But it's still hard in the Zamazenta matchup because Zamazenta puts so much pressure. So, like for example, follow me. The ogre pawn is not a really good strategy because it's just gonna body press like 2 hit KO really easily ogre pawn. And I mean, the last thing, which is a little minor thing, but I think it's important, is that I decided to use Earth Power on Terapagos. I think it's
Right.
really weird to substitute. I know that I tested a bit, and I think it's really way better against Amoonguss, but at the same time, this makes the Zamazenta a harder matchup, and I think it's really used against Miraidon as well. Like, there were a lot of times in the tournament that I picked surprised KOs on Iron Hands, for example, that people were not expecting. And yes, I did really well. Was really happy, and I think the matchup that I lost, I also think I played to my best. But the scenario of Taunt and the Urshiful Dark was very hard to deal with, and like because yeah. But I think I was very happy. Sorry if I talked about a lot, but I think it's a very a team that is not at all standard. So I think people want to know why did I use these things over, I don't know, more standard things. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a really cool team, and again, we were harping on how the format was kind of stale, but it's really cool to see players like yourself continue to innovate, and the ideas here are honestly they're super cool. I think that especially like you said, Grimstar being able to switch out to Terapagos, parting shot back in, get the Sinister healing on the same turn, while giving yourself the fighting immunity is really cool. And the Chopal Berry on Incineroar is really clever because, yeah, I think someone pointed this out in chat. Terapagos wants to Terra most of the time, and so Incineroar can't Terra into Zamazenta, and so being able to just burn them with either your Talonflame or your Incineroar, and always exerting that
Mhm.
pressure is a really cool way of dealing with some of Terapagos' problems. And so, yeah, and I think it's really cool to see people continue to innovate in this format and find new solutions to some of the problems that these restricteds do face.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I really like the Troubleberry. Troubleberry is very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think
so then, go ahead.
no, I just like, I think we can talk about like what I did expect, what happens. I think, I don't know, it's like, I think you two were already going to, I don't know, I think I did the hook to talk about it, but just um like yes, I think the first thing that really stand out, Carly Ice did really really well. Uh,
Right.
with,
mhm.
to be honest, I am not at all surprised. I have a
I
take
was.
that
I did definitely want to talk about Juan's team because the Juan's team is a really cool and slightly different take on Ice Rider. There's a couple of things here, like Ice Rider's been used with Instant Amoonguss and Raging Bolt plenty, but the Terra Fairy on it definitely very different, as well as the darker Shifu, and we've seen Choice Scarf Lando with it before, but maybe not on a team exactly like this. It's got some things that definitely differ from the usual ones. Covert Cloak Amoonguss pretty cool. Darker's pretty cool. I don't know. There's a lot of like minor things here. Again, 6 good Pokemon that are always been around in the meta in some sort of capacity, but the set choices and Terra types do make it play differently in certain matchups, and I think that's very strong thing to be doing in Reg G at this point.
I think
Yeah,
I did mention it. Sorry to interrupt you. That's like the, but I also the taunt on Incineroar. I think that was a really
Hmm.
good call because it doesn't have safety goggles, but you can
Right.
still like, because the thing with Incineroar versus Incineroar is that you can switch it out and you can like do this parting shot war, let's say. But his Incineroar was fast and was taunt on the other Incineroars as well as other Pokemon that like could Will-O-Wisp, for example. My Incineroar was which we had Will-O-Wisp and Parting Shot was really annoyed because it's like it reduces so much of the counterplay against Kaliais. So I think that was for me the biggest like edge he had in the like the team building. I think was this taunt
Mhm.
on Sinnoh.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember over Reg's run beforehand, like towards the beginning, we ramped up very quickly to jolly max speed Incineroars just to counter other Incineroar. And then it slowly settled down over the course of it, now, NAIC and then Worlds to the point that people were actively wanting to be the slow one again, not only to just be able to take hits better, parting shot second was sometimes nice, and it seems like I think maybe taunt was favored early on, whereas like there was a tendency to trend towards Will-O-Wisp later, being very good against Zamazenta, and also just being really good at pinning a lot of Pokemon with like Kyogre and Terapagos hitting Terrafires. Both kind of the same way, respectively. They hit Terrafires super effectively if you're trying to dodge a Will-O-Wisp. And so, yeah, I think that I'm wondering if we'll see another similar trend where people start to ramp up in speed again because being the faster Ensign can seriously have its perks.
Hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The other thing that I really like about this team is the Amoonguss, because we have not seen a lot of Covert Cloak. I feel like almost all the Amoonguss nowadays are Rocky Helmet. Obviously, Rocky Helmet is very good, but the what Amoonguss, at least the conundrum that I often face when I'm using Amoonguss is, well, Protect is really good, largely because of these fake out wars, and Sludge Bomb, it almost feels mandatory in this format at this point in the format. But Pollen Puff is really good. Pollen Puff is so hard to drop on Ice Rider teams, and so by running Covered Cloak, you are I feel a lot more comfortable dropping Protect, and it allows me to run the two best moves on Amoonguss in Pollen Puff and Sludge Bomb, and so having the ability to put both those Pokemons in your set give Amoonguss give so much more versatility. Obviously, you still have to position it very carefully when it doesn't have Protect. But I think that, yeah, I really like that choice by Juan on this team.
Absolutely
we
agree.
probably won't have time to dive into every team here, but I do want to
Mhm.
point out on the second place team. Somebody had mentioned this to me in a coaching session. I think one person did bring it to Worlds, but this giraffe features Mirror Herb, which I think is quite hilarious, quite awesome. There's a number of random things you can copy against like the other giraffe and the Miraidon Mirror. You could just also be Electric Seed essentially. But I think mostly this is pretty massive against Shadow Rider. If the Shadow Rider teams want to set up a nasty plot, or if the Shadow Rider even just simply wants to take a KO against one of your Pokemon and get that Grim Neigh boost, the Giraffe is like, all right, go ahead, I'll join you. And that is just so funny to me. All the while, being immune to that Astral Barrage, resisting the Psychic attacks. They'll have to be running like Dark Pulse or Pollen Puff or something to actually be able to hit it. And so it seems like against other Shadow Riders, it would just be pissing me off. This stupid Mirror Herb Giraffe. Such a hilarious set.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine clicking Calm Mind? I'd hate it.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. I think All Might is even worse than Nasty Plot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other like major examples of things that you want to be copying in the set in the format that I'm missing, but yeah, it's just very comical. I guess you can copy a Calm Mind from a Terapagos, and so yeah, just hilariously, honestly, strong innovation, and I don't know if every team should be using it. I think more teams could be considering it. I think it's an idea that definitely is strong enough to give a try.
Yeah. I mean,
I want
yeah.
Let's see.
to.
I'm scanning with the.
If you're putting your
Go ahead.
Photograph on your
The,
team to beat Caloric Shadow Rider and Calm Mind Terapagos, right? If you need help into those matchups, it's really good, and it just takes an item slot. I like it a lot.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I want to shout out him especially because I don't know if the people know this, but like Daniel is my friend. Shout out
Mm-hmm.
to him and congratulations. And he wasn't unfortunately he wasn't able to be here, but he was like he's in Rio still. He doesn't live in Rio, but he's with his family there. So I think he's having a really good time, especially after
Awesome.
this. So, but yeah, he something that I don't know. Like I don't know if I should say, but I think it's very interesting, really to share, and I don't think it does that big of a difference, but it may help people. Something is that this Ogre Pawn cornerstone of his, it's not like 252, 252 jolly. I think this Ogre Pawn has HP because if the attack is a bit bit lower, and the HP a bit higher, it does survive. I think a double of foul play and vote switch from your idol teams, which I think it's really clever. Like you lower a bit your attack to not die for the foul play. I don't know. He didn't share a lot uh, with me and with the people. Like
Hmm.
I know he a lot, but just saying, I think this is the only cool thing that I can add still about the scene. But probably if he was going to be here, he probably had a lot of other interesting things to talk about the team as well.
I'm scanning through the rest, and I don't know if there's anything else out there that I'm like super interested in mentioning. I think there's like we
I
did say earlier that there was one Koraidon in top eight of this tournament. Otherwise, not a great showing over in Birmingham. At this point, if I was redoing my tier list, I might put Groudon over Koraidon. But maybe I'll be proved wrong about that in the future. This weekend in San Antonio, maybe there's some strong Koraidon teams going for that tournament. I'm not convinced. I think that it's having a real tough showing right now.
No, Alex. I found the
I would
Koraidon team that you should be using. It actually uses all of your favorite Pokemon. It's built by Igor Souza and Julio Eller, who went 2-5 and 2-4 respectively. Uh,
Yes, of course.
it's got your girl on it. It's got Koraidon and it's got Gotharita, your favorite combo.
We did use Goth Koraidon at a point in the last run of Regulation G. It had no lasting impression, but we did do well at that one tournament. I did okay, and the rest of the people, wow, that is just a lot of Paradox Pokemon. I'm looking at it now, and yeah, this is pretty funny. Um, no,
can I
no, let
say
them come.
something?
Go for it.
I
Of
think
course.
there's like a couple things that I want to add. Uh,
Hmm.
One thing that surprised me was the amount of Dondozo Kalexchi teams that did well. Not because I wasn't prepared for it, but because I think that other people would be a lot more prepared for this team. And despite of that, it still did well. So that surprised me. I think that was not something that I was expecting. I faced two on the tournament and I beat both, but even then, um, also, by the way, Sinisha is really good in that match because versus the Terra, and
Of
you
course, of
can
course.
Yeah.
gotcha gotcha 10,000 times and heal
Well,
yourself for the poison, which happened.
this was also a team that I noticed, Junchi, you played like two or three of them over the course of your run too. Like this is a team that was everywhere.
Yes. like I knew this team was around, but I was expecting myself to play like one maybe, and then I just played a lot of them. And like I think at what was also funny was at Birmingham, I think all the Shadow Riders I played, none of them are actually running like the standard Astral Barrage, Psychic, Nasty Plot, Protect set. None of them are running that. They're either running this Life Orb set with like Dozo stuff, or I faced one with like AV Astral Barrage, um,
AV.
Draining Kiss,
Oh.
yeah, Expanding Force, and I forgot what the last one is. Yeah, it was AV Kali Shadow, and then the last one, I think it was Terra Water, Terra Blast. That one was, I would say, that one's like the most standard Kali Shadow that I played actually in round 7, I think. Yeah, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think the Shadow Riders, like, I was actually expecting a lot more of the standard picks, but those are obviously none of them were
I think
that I
Shadow
was
Rider
facing.
might
So
be the
yeah.
restricted with the most set diversity. That's the problem is that you say standard Shadow Rider, and honestly, I feel like they are all over the place, which is one of the most annoying things when it comes to preparing for the Pokemon. thankfully, it doesn't seem to be doing the hottest right now. I'm always preying on this Pokemon's downfall, just like Dondozo.
Just
But yeah, it is. I absolutely. I hate plenty, and so yeah, this Pokemon. It's just used. I only cringe individuals, unfortunately. I'll say no more about their character, but yeah, the thing is that they're all over the place. Even using Audi as an example, Audi, you and Mont, you both did well at that LA tournament. And your Shadow Riders were quite different from one another, right? And
yep.
even though the rest of the team was like a lot of similarities, but yeah, then there's just so many different Shadow Riders, and they have to be treated super differently. You go up against the max speed one that's like also max special attack and hitting you for a ton of damage, and then the next round you're playing against the one that's just like, actually, speed EVs are a myth. I've never once wanted to outspeed something. All bulk, all the time. And you're just like, all the attacks are bouncing off of it. It's a Pokemon that can do so much with the way that the moves you put on it, the items, the Terras, the EVs, that I feel like, yeah, every two Shadow Rider that you fight, they're just going to play so differently.
I want to sorry, but I think that it's two things that I want to comment is like this Dondozo team. I think like it's not like this Dondozo team, but a lot of Dondozo teams I feel like have this that like in my opinion it's just so predictable a lot of the times. Like it's this very linear team, and it's not like there is too much to go wrong. So I just don't like the team. I also think that it's a team that it's very easily prepared for. And it is also a team that I don't see ever winning a tournament because it's so underrated and at the same time so predictable that I don't know, like I was surprised at the same time I was surprised the team doing well, but at the same time I understand why like I think everyone dropped out of top 16 because when you were like facing really good players that prepared well, this team is probably not going to do really well,
Mhm.
because it's so straightforward. And just another thing that I want to comment that was really noticeable was that there was zero Zamazenta in the top cut of Rio, which I think it's very
Mm-hmm.
surprising. Although there was a lot of, if you go down, you see a lot of Zamazenta in day two. I don't know if a
Mm-hmm.
lot, but like a good amount. And shout out to my friend Miguel that did day two with
Mm-hmm.
Zamazenta, and he also presented me the channel. So if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here today. But I think this is very surprising, especially because I think there was like three Terrapagos at top, and like there was three Terrapagos. No, three
Mm-hmm.
no. There were two Terrapagos. I faced the other Terrapagos in the top eight, and it was really interesting as well because he did have a strategy that he used choice specs, and he played against my friend that was using Zamazenta, and he didn't bring Terrapagos to the matchup at all. So this is another way to like, I don't know, prepare for Zamazenta if you're playing Terrapagos. That is interesting. Some people
Yep.
do that with Landorus and makes Landorus. I think that was his strat, make Landorus the like star of the show against Zamazenta. And I don't know, like some I've saw some Calyrex Ice like not bringing Calyrex Ice in the Calyrex Shadow Mirror. So I don't know. It's understandable to not bring your restricted against if like it's that bad in the case of Zamazenta. But I think this is
Mm-hmm.
interesting too, which is not the case. I think in Birmingham there was quite a few Zamazenta. I think top cut.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It had a pretty good showing there, and I guess it's just like it can be tough, but you got to know not just the global meta, but like your regional meta. Like what is going to be more popular in your region. The top players that are going to be likely in attendance, and you want to respect the archetypes that they're trending towards at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
I'm looking at the rest, and I don't really see any other teams that are super stand out. So I think at this point we'll move on to our last segment here, or I guess before Calcus Right, and talk about previewing San Antonio, which ultimately I was between a 3 or a 4 on the difficulty scale before ultimately just picking 3.9 for the meme. It's just half of that 7.8 too much water meme about Hoenn because I don't know, Groudon and Kyogre are apparently the top dogs right now. So not maybe not the top, but they're doing pretty good for themselves. It's kind of funny to see the Hoenn duo there trying to maintain relevance despite being power crept a little bit, which is insane. Drought and Drizzle so strong, but
doing a pretty good
San
job of maintaining
Antonio,
relevance. Doing a pretty good job.
yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
absolutely. And so San Antonio this weekend, it's I believe around 600 something players. I think somebody told me earlier. That's I think.
I don't think it's capped, by the way. If you want to sign up for this event, you can still go. I'm talking to you, Michael
There you go.
Lobesi,
So yeah,
who was looking at flight prices last week.
Wait, if it's around 600 on Arcanine, that means that you guys are like really riding the line between no shows and younger divisions. Because you have to have over 512 for the 3 rounds day 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that sounds right.
I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really change anything in terms of like your prep and stuff. It will change how the tournament flows when you actually play, but yeah, just something to see when it does come around is does it break that 512 barrier? But yeah, the I guess yeah we got to talk about the previous tournaments in this one because I don't actually know if there's anything else to talk about the.
Yeah, I don't think we know
Victory
the
Road
casters or anything,
link
which is kind of a shame.
I don't think I've seen anything for that one. They'll probably tweet it like literally later today or something like that. But yeah, why doesn't it let me this one? Yeah. So.
But yeah, so
Oh, you got to it. I was trying to do it.
yeah. There was a bot in chat. The history. This is the second time there's been a regional in San Antonio after last season. Historically, the Texas regional has usually been the first regional of the year. So in January, February
Calendar
or
year.
calendar year, excuse me, and which is also fun because that's also right after the new games release, and so the first regional in that we have covered here in Generation 7 is the 2018 Dallas Regionals. That was January 2018. So this was the first major in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I'm scripting a video about this one, so maybe look out for that. But yeah, this was a fun one because there was just a ton of disconnects. They actually banned a bunch of moves from the game, namely Curse, because they would be more likely to cause disconnects. I think String Shot was banned. And yeah,
Shot, no!
for real, it was a weird one. It was a weird regional. This was but yeah, shout outs to Tub Nation taking over this regional, going 3 for 3 in top cut, number 1, 2, and 3 with Cedric winning the regional with Charizard Y.
I'm curious if we had all those people in Tub at the time. I actually wasn't even Tub at the time. I think none of these people were in Tub at the time. I think maybe a grand total of 0.
Still taking
amusingly. Of course, we gotta. And I feel like those are 3 names that I'm looking at the top 8 here and probably are the most likely to attend of them because smart money or not smart money. The looking at the history is ultimately going to lead us to picking the smart money. So yeah, we'll get some ideas of people who are likely to attend the regional taking place in Texas this weekend, and then take our shot at picking the winner.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, I guess
I would expect.
Anybody else you want to mention before moving on?
Yeah, among top cut players. So Adrian, I don't think he really plays anymore. He won Portland Regionals this year, but he is a Texas local. So if there's any event that he will go to, it is this one. He lives just outside of Austin. Jake, of course, is another Texas local who got top cut at this regional. Probably going to be casting this regional if I had to guess. I see a couple Mexican players in top cut, and I would definitely expect a big Mexican contingent. They've got a very active scene, and this is obviously the closest regional for them outside of the 2 events in Mexico. So wouldn't be surprised to see a number of them also attend. The rest of the top cut, I think Blake is now a Pokemon Go player. I don't know if Jacob Swilly plays anymore, but I know he's another Texas player. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the top 3 players are the players that I would expect to see if you're looking for a smart money pick. Moving on.
And then moving on to the next one.
to 2019 Dallas
Yeah.
Regionals. Once again,
Ooh,
the
Tub Nation again?
Top Nation again. The first regional of Moon Series this time, and it was won by Nick. Oh man, I have a video that I was planning for this one too. I didn't even realize. Okay. So Nick Nails Navarre, the one and only, winning this regional with Zerndon. Coming out. You see Brendan Huang. I don't know if he plays anymore. He was not a California player, but I know Aaron Trailer. Don't think he's going to this event. Not sure. I don't know about any of these players, actually. I did see Preston was at May Day 2 of EUIC. Shout outs to him. Not EUIC, of Birmingham Regionals. So shout outs to him for doing that. You see him on this top 8 list.
We'll see Trailer again, and he is going.
He is going? All right, sick. So maybe another smart money pick.
Should be going as far as I remember.
And then I'm also wondering if Ashton is going, because he is, of course, coming off of a top 4 finish at the Latin American International Championships. And this was, of course, when he won the Latin American International Championships prior to this Dallas Regionals, where he got top 8 as well.
I think Ashton said he's not attending until. Is there a Puerto Rico event coming up? Maybe
there is next month.
Yes, I think he said that is his next tournament back. He said this during the Nuzlocke stream. I tuned in for some of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyways, on to the next one though. I said Aaron Trailer will return.
Oh shit!
And sure enough, he goes all the way in Dallas. 2020. This was the first ever tournament of Sword and Shield. Came in with a lot of growth in the VGC scene. 550 players. We've gone past that now, but it was a pretty big number for the time. And notably, it was really pushing our tournament structure to the limit, because this meant that we had 10 rounds of Swiss, and that was a lot. I think we just played all 10 in one day, right? And because they didn't have the idea, or that was the system. If we reached this number, we played 10 rounds of Swiss, and I think they saw that happen, and they were like, never again. We're not going to go through that again.
We literally did it again. We did it again. In 2023, didn't we?
Which one?
Didn't we play in round 10 of Orlando Regionals?
Oh, you're right. Maybe that was the one that broke it.
That was the one that broke it. It was 3 years. It was 3 years later.
I don't know why they didn't get the sign from this one, because this was grueling. I played in this one. I think we both did.
I didn't play this one.
And you didn't. Okay. There I am. Pick me for your smart money. I'm down at 51. Scroll down. You'll 51. See me.
This is why I brought up Gotharita, because he used Gotharita here.
That's true. I keep telling everybody I'm not going, but I'll reveal it now on Tub Takes. I've been lying to everybody for months. You see me there, guys. Watch out.
With Gotharita Karaidon, right?
Yeah. With Gotharita Karaidon and Gothatel. I'm running double Goth, running it back.
But yeah.
Let's talk about names though. Other good names. I don't know if Bingji's currently playing, and I haven't seen Andrew Burley around in a minute. But Justin Burns is going to be in attendance. Justin Ramirez, I'm not super sure. Crewball, I could see it. Haven't really heard yes or no. Don't want to read that next one.
There's my boy Teen Spirit, my puppy's co-manager in top 16, 9th place. Shout outs to him. I see Cortex, I see Vichy, Alberto, Scott. I don't think Scott's going. Jacob Swilly, noted Texas player. Another Mexican player, Gilberto. I think he also caught the 2017 one. So yeah, a lot of really good players here. And this was the first regional of Sword and Shield. So there was a lot of hype, a lot of people flying in. I don't know if everyone is flying in for this one, but yeah, I definitely look out for looking at this list. Aaron and Justin are the two that I would really say stand out to me as contenders to win this thing.
And
then
we've got one more.
San Antonio Regionals, the first ever San Antonio Regionals in 2023. This one was a really fun one. Again, I love San Antonio Regionals because it is right in the middle of San Antonio on the Riverwalk, which is where everything is. There's a lot of bars, a lot of stuff to do. It's near the Alamo. There's a lot of hotels, so it's cheap to get a hotel. Love the location. It's awesome. This one was won by Giovanni Costa, who will not be in attendance. I know he just moved to Japan, so he will no longer be in attendance for North American events. Is Raghav going? I'm not sure.
Yes, I believe so.
So Raghav is going. Justin once again going. I'm sure Joe Garte is going. When would he not go to an event? I mean, this event is the entire top 8 is just the who's who of Pokemon, right? Everyone is so good in top 8. And
Very strong set of names, absolutely.
yeah, and then there's me down there in 19th, losing 2 straight win-ins for this top cut. I'll see again. Carson, we mentioned earlier. I know he's attending. Jeremy Parsons cut the last one and then cut this, or just barely miscut in this one as well. Another name to look out for. So yeah, this was a really fun event.
Yeah,
a lot of really good players
I'd say
attending.
It starts to drop off after 18 or so. Like I feel like we probably don't need to read past like 18.
Oh, shout out to my boy Colin, Austin local, getting 18th. I think his first or second. No, it's not his first regional, but his first day 2, getting 18th. He was
very amusing to see Colin here because I believe, obviously, Colin Higher probably the most notable Colin in the VGC scene, but I think there's also a Colin Hand.
Yep.
And then there's Colin Leg. So I don't know. Maybe they're trying to assemble the pieces of Colin Exodia, and we're just gonna have to wait for like Colin Head and I don't know the pieces of Exodia. Is there a torso? Does it have a body?
No. You got 2 legs, 2 hands,
no.
and the head.
Okay. So we just need Colin Head then, and then somehow we have to clone Leg and Hand. Yeah, it seems we're so close. We're so close.
I do want to give a shout out to all of my Austin players who popped off at this event, including Colin, including my boy Arsal, who got 16th as well at this event, and Connor also made it 2 at this event. Jeff Lehman is a San Antonio local. He got 2nd at one of these Victory Road Tours with the Zamazenta. He will be in attendance. So a lot of really good. Chase Libert, another Texas player, Austin player. Austin, San Antonio, Central Texas. We showed up for this event and we popped off, and I was really proud of him. So
let's go ahead and get to it then.
So with that, we'll talk. Yeah, let's do smart money. So who do we think are the smart money for this event? Pedro, I will let you start. Who do you got winning this event?
Wow, that's hard. Wow, no clue at all. I would just like to pick a really weird player, but I don't know. I cannot think of anyone. It caught me really by surprise. I was like really distracted here.
All right. We'll come back to you then. Junchi, I'll let you get your name out first. Who do you think is smart money for this event?
I'm gonna go with my GOAT Shidown Tang, of course.
All right.
I've been prepping with him for Birmingham. He's not gonna use my team, but I know he has a pretty cool team, so I look forward to see how he's gonna do with it. Yep.
I'm a big Shiliang fan, absolutely. Always uses some very cool, strong teams and plays them well. So,
man,
good pick there.
All right, Pedro, do you have a smart money picked out now?
I don't know what player. Because I don't even know what players are not going to attend or not. Like I'm not from the US to know. But
no, that's fine. That's fine. Honestly,
I
just
really
pick
like
anybody that you know
Ashton
is
Gold, so, like,
going. We mentioned a couple. If you think any of them are strong, like the ones that we mentioned here, just glancing at the tournaments that we talked about already, Cedric, Chuppa, Carson, I believe are all going. Nails is not going. I don't think actually.
Nails is not going. But Aaron Trailer is going.
Aaron Trailer is going. Justin Burns
and
is going.
Raga,
Gio not going.
No,
Gio's just moved
going.
to Japan actually.
Yes, but Raghav is going.
Raghav,
Joe Garte is going. I don't know if Justin Tang is going. I imagine Riley and Jody are going as well.
I don't think Justin is going. I think he's skipping.
No, Justin Tang.
I think I'm gonna put my Joe Ugarte because like my friend really likes him, and there was his name is like his nickname is Joe X9, and my friend on Brazil talked to him and said, hey, did you know that X9 is expression in Brazil for people that are like that lie that's like to his friends or something? This was really it was a weird interaction. It's not exactly that. It's like you want to. I don't know the term in English, but like let's say your friend did something bad and you tell the other people, oh, he did that. Like you I forgot the term for
Like
that.
a snitch?
That's
Or like
yes. That is the X9 means stitch in Brazil, so that's why. So I'm gonna throw this
That's a
reference
crazy
at
lore
you for
drop.
him
That's
as well.
awesome.
All right, Alex, who you got?
Or, I'm going to pick Eternal Snowman. I know what this guy's cooking, and honestly, he's going 14-0 or 2-4. It's one of them.
Mhm.
That team is not normal. Because why would ESM use anything normal?
Right. Never seen him use a normal team before. My pick. I've got his triumphant return. Finally back after a year off from VGC. I'm picking Gavin Michaels. We'll see if he can shake off the rust
Ooh.
and see if he still got it or if he's actually washed up and maybe should just not play Pokemon. I don't know. We'll see. I believe in
Right,
Gavin.
right. Yeah, we're seeing a return of formerly banned players at this one. So we'll have
Return
to
of the
keep an
King
eye
of
out for
Mars.
them.
It's Return of the King. It's
True.
of Mars. It's great. It's thematic.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah. So definitely look out for that. I'm excited to watch this. You know what? Because this one's actually at a reasonable time zone. Alex, are we doing something for this regional?
Very possibly. I don't think I'm doing anything Saturday, so
Okay.
yeah, there's a decent chance I'll have to check, but I could, I'm not gonna like promise it, but like I yeah, I might be down because I personally, even though Reg G sucks, I am just like a fan of the game. I like watching VGC, especially when it's live, and so yeah, I'd probably be watching it anyways. Might as well watch it with you on Twitch.
It's true. We'll get a crew together.
Did we talk about the global challenge? It's not quite time, just because it's not. That's like next week's episode.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely we'll get to that one. I guess the signups will probably start this week, maybe.
No, it's next week.
Maybe that's relevant. But
No, it's we'll talk about it next week on Top Takes. The signups will be on next
Yep.
Thursday,
Yeah,
I
we'll
believe. But yeah, so with that,
yeah. Okay.
if y'all did good, I know we're going a little long. We can do the calc is right. I don't want to hold you guys if you have to
Dang,
go.
this guy doesn't read Discord at all. No, I was saying that we probably just skip it for time because
we
we've
skip
gone
it?
way over. So I don't.
All right.
I
In
think
that
so.
case-
I think unfortunately, sorry guys, we gave you a lot of content otherwise talking about teams and team sheets. I feel like that's honestly on me. I spent way too much time adding that team sheet discourse to the docket. So blame me for not doing Calc is right again this time, but we'll get to it next time for sure. I'll try to better control my pace because I definitely am taking the fault for this one.
Do you think we need a new game to play at the end, or do we keep doing calc is right? Because it is a new year. We could think of something else.
I'll think of it. I'll think of it, or think on it because we could. I could definitely like get some like funny, stupid Pokemon VGC history trivia, something like that. I'll cook. I'll try.
Yeah. Chat, sound off. Do you want calc is right, or do you want and leave in the comments too. Do you want calc is right, or do you want us to think about something new? What's up?
I'm down for it either way.
I have an idea for content that I did once that I think you're gonna like. It's not as a game for like as little game, but it's something that I think you're gonna like to. But like there was once did a roulette. I did a challenge with my friends, and then I did a
Mhm.
roulette to choose a restricted. And you had to build a team in like 30 minutes. That you have to use one restricted, two Pokemons with like any Pokemon at all, two Pokemons that have like I think two Pokemon that have like between 5% and 1% usage, and one Pokemon that have lower than 1% usage. I like use Pikalytics or something like that. And in 30 minutes, you have to build a team and play a tournament. I did that, so like I don't know if it's just an idea. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean we're doing the ladder Nuzlocke challenge right now. We
Yes,
finished
I
part
saw
2 of that, and keep an eye out. We'll definitely try to get part 3 out at some point. But that's been really fun, and I definitely think that I'd love to do more sort of team building challenge style style streams, style videos if people continue to enjoy that style of content.
Gotta freshen up Reg G somehow, right?
Yes.
So I gotta ask. I don't see anyone playing VGC on Twitch right now. Is VGC dead? Who are we rating?
Let me go have a look because yeah, you're right. None of our we're too early. Where are the Europeans?
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna be a cut to black, huh?
No, so okay. So I'm gonna send you guys over because if there's one thing that we love to do that isn't play VGC is we love to rank things. And so I see this guy who is ranking every Pokemon, and so I'm gonna send you over to Gunther, who is currently ranking every Pokemon. Go tell him that IceQ is actually S tier. It's the greatest Pokemon out there. That's my take. What are your guys' favorite Pokemon? Sound off as we send this right off.
Blaziken.
Blaziken's S tier. I believe it.
Yes, I think it's
Junshi, what's your favorite Pokemon?
Mine?
What's your favorite?
Oh wait. Oh, did I miss here? Oh, Junshi said Blaziken. All right, it makes sense. You have the Blaziken profile. I thought Pedro was fine. Pedro, what's your favorite?
Yeah.
My favorite.
I don't know how your voices are pretty different. I don't know how I got that mixed up. Apologies. Anyways, Pedro, what's yours?
That's no problem. I think my favorite Pokemon probably is Slowbro. That's my favorite.
Slowbro. Ooh, okay. That guy's dope. What do you think about Slowking? Is Slowking your enemy or are you a fan?
No, I'm a fan. It's like it's
okay.
But his Slowbro is the really working class.
What about the Galar one? Is the Galar one cool?
It's kind of cool. I don't hate it, but I prefer the original. I think the original is more.
The original.
It's more.
I agree. The Galar one's kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Alex, what's your favorite Pokemon?
Yeah.
Oh, I said Flygon. I'm a big fan.
All right. With that, we're gonna hop off. Thank you guys for watching, and say hello to